Pain is purpose. A myth has risen from the ashes of ancient scrolls to claim its place in metal, changing metalheads and rockers forever. It's a force older than evil empires and hotter than a spicy chicken nugget straight out of Hell's Kitchen. It's been a symbol guiding metalheads to rediscover love, light, and purpose in their darkest moments. It reminds us that it's okay to feel broken at times and that pain isn't a weakness. It's a tool to find meaning. This is an inner light that refuses to be extinguished, a testament that behold the phoenix. No, not that phoenix. The legendary firebird built on resilience and redemption. A creature that dies 1,000 deaths, learning from each defeat, only to rise again, stronger, wiser, and more determined. And now, literal thousands of years later, this immortal icon has built itself a permanent nest in rock and metal. Right in the heart of a world that faces the darkness head on, learns from the pain, and fights relentlessly towards the light. But why does this creature of fire and fury strike such resonance with fans of heavier music? And how did it become the genre's ultimate spirit animal? So, let's discover why the Phoenix has nestled its way into our hearts. Imagine floating into a dark abyss, weightless, surrounded by haunting echoes of your past. It feels like you're falling, endlessly reaching out, desperately searching for something to hold on to. You're battered, bruised, and beaten. Emotionally, mentally, physically, maybe. And giving up seems like the only option left. But somewhere, deep inside, there's a spark that refuses to die. You hear something from deep within.
No, not yet.
You reach for your earbuds, phone, vinyl, what have you, and you just let it play. You take a deep breath. And then, the emptiness is shattered. This isn't music anymore. This is a lifeline. A voice cuts through the void. Screaming, singing, growling, a bleh. Whatever it takes to reach you. Adrenaline surges through your veins as one band after another grips you, refusing to let go. Killswitch Engage, Hatebreed, Architects, Papa Roach, Breaking Benjamin, Imminence, From Ashes to New, Nothing More, and so many more. Bands you've loved for years, bands you've just discovered, and bands you'll find tomorrow. They all share the same message. You can get through this. No, you will get through this. You know the feeling. The drums ache deep in your chest. The riff seems to stitch up that bleeding heart of yours. And then, the lyrics. Oh boy, the lyrics. The hook, line, and sinker written just for you. Suddenly, you're not alone. You're heard, understood, connected in some metaphysical way. Each song grabs hold, pulling you out of the darkness you've been drowning in. As the music builds, you glance down to your phone, and a common denominator of album covers and themes are staring back at you like proof that someone finally gets it. Psychologist Carl Jung, the guy whose theories heavily inspired that personality test you've probably taken at some point, would call this your Phoenix moment. A daring confrontation with your darkest self. Alchemy would call this the crucible, where you transform your pain and anger into healing power. And if you asked mythologist Joseph Campbell, he'd tell you you're on the hero's journey, where everything you've lost becomes a spark for something more significant. For those who have walked through hell, rock and metal are the sounds of survival, the anthem of rebirth. But how does this ancient, spicy chicken nugget, with such beautiful sorrow, survive throughout existence, appearing again and again in stories, dripping with symbolism, and sparking connections all over the world? Well, much like you and me, the Phoenix has quite the tragic backstory. Born from the sands of ancient Egypt, the Bennu, a mythical bird, was a celebrated symbol of life and death for the Egyptians. By the 5th century BC, the Greeks, never ones to let a good story go untold, adopted this legend, reshaping it into their mythos. They even gave it a new name, the Phoenix, and reimagined it as the internal light that refused to die, a creature defying fate and logic. As centuries passed, the Phoenix transformed with each culture it touched. Soon, the myth became a canvas for artists, writers, and philosophers. Everyone from Herodotus to Hesiod to Ovid added their spin to it. In ancient Rome, the Phoenix was shaped into an icon of power. The Romans pictured it rising from a pyre, haloed in flames, which is also a great band. Medieval scribes put the Phoenix into manuscripts and cathedral windows, and in Christian traditions, the myth became a symbol of Christ's resurrection. Now, metal has always been a home for the misunderstood, those who feel the weight of the world constantly pressing down on their shoulders. And since the very beginning, metal has held the embers of purpose, glowing just beneath the surface of a cold world, waiting for the right moment to ignite. A perfect environment for the Phoenix to thrive. Take, for example, the story of a 17-year-old guitarist from England who lost the tips of his fretting hand in a factory accident. When the world told him to give up, he melted plastic bottles and leather pieces in the fire and crafted makeshift fingertips, teaching himself to play all over again. That young man was Tony Iommi, and out of the tragedy came the unmistakable sound of Black Sabbath, the spark from which heavy metal literally ignited from. Chaos and catharsis are carved into metal's very DNA. Like, bro, metal is literally smelted and refined in fire. Bands like Alter Bridge, Foo Fighters, and Audioslave were forged from the wreckage of what came before them. And that's the pattern. Some see endings, but others, they find beginnings. Just like a Metallica, the ghost inside Architect's Ginger, Northlane, While She Sleeps, these bands didn't surrender to tragedy. They adapted and rebuilt from what others perceived as ruin. And that's what the Phoenix is all about, rising from the ashes and seeking meaningful redemption. But reaching this kind of vulnerability and authenticity, it's no easy task. It's like an odyssey reminiscent of a Gojira breakdown, full of twists, turns, and flying whales. Now, metal has stretched its wings across continents, uniting people. But it wasn't until recently that the community started to see its true potential as an asylum for expressing pain and rising above it. It's no coincidence that rock and metal bands and their fans are drawn to the Phoenix myth. You can hear its echoes in album titles like Breaking Benjamin's Dark Before Dawn and Trivium's Ember to Inferno, in song titles like Killswitch Engage's Triumph Through Tragedy and The Ghost Inside's Literal Phoenix Rise, and in lyrics like Walking Through the Fire and Rising from the Ashes from Imminence. Walking through the fire and rising from the ashes! All alluding to the myth. So many illusions. And this isn't a coincidence. It's intentional, and it's all connected, and it's beautiful. The Phoenix, in its various avatars, speaks of battles with anxiety, isolation, rage, and depression, to name a few. These aren't abstract struggles, but testimonies of countless rockers and metalheads. And just like the Phoenix, they fight, they fall, and they rise again. Not by succumbing to the numbing, but by digging deep and finding the strength buried deep inside them. Where outsiders see the chaos of a mosh pit, it's secretly a crucible. Remember, we talked about that. Forged by strength for those inside it. When someone falls, more often than not, they're lifted. And this alone, in itself, is a symbol of the Phoenix spirit. When the music plays, it drowns out the pain. Patches on leather jackets and vests are metaphorical badges of survival, markers of shared battles fought and won. In the swirling maelstrom of sound, metalheads and rockers live a beautiful paradox. A community born from pain, yet anchored in redemption. And researchers are noticing that bands are more openly discussing mental health and personal growth.
This song is about being there for somebody. Talking about mental health has been part of what we've done since the beginning of our career. You know, it's like our first major hit track, right? Last Resort. It's like, it's a cry for help.
Skillet wants you to know that no matter what you are going through, if you feel alone, you feel this world would be better without you, we want to remind you that there is a God who loves you tonight.
Several studies have shown that metalheads and rockers find healing and support within their community. It's a refuge for those who feel out of place, an asylum to heal old wounds, rest, and rebuild. Fans are coming forward sharing stories of their battles through hardships and healing, with metal as their soundtrack. So things are really shifting. There's a new level of vulnerability and a willingness to admit that beyond the black clothes and exhausted eyes lies an unshakable spirit of resilience. And yes, critics will always dismiss metal as nothing more than aggression, a nihilist cacophony of rage and rebellion, a symphony of destruction of sorts. But those who listen, like really listen, and probably also read the lyrics, understand something deeper. We intensely feel the weight of a dysfunctional world and dare hold a candle to it. When Stratovarius belts out, "Like the phoenix I fly, leaving the lies behind, future's golden for me, there is no one who can stop me now." It becomes a rallying cry for self-liberation, rising from betrayal and lies, daring to heal, and boldly pushing towards a future that finally feels like yours. Research has acknowledged metal's ability to recognize cracks in the system, to call out all types of manipulation, corruption, and misrepresentation. Rockers and metalheads don't pretend everything's fine, but instead drag uncomfortable truths into light. It's not about being a downer or just being negative. It's about being passionate about the truth, learning perspective, and connecting the dots to understand the bigger picture. Ocean's 8 Alaska's Soul boldly declares, "Raised me out of the shadows like a phoenix. The ashes of my past give life to a new leaf." The phoenix rises not out of ego, but with a deeper purpose, to heal, restore, and bring balance to what's lost. Our Hollow, Our Homes, Thrown to the Wolves takes it even further. There's life left within you. Just ignite the spark. As a reminder to others that there's still hope, that the internal, eternal flame still lives within us all, no matter how dark it gets. Sure, metal looks tough, even scary at times, but at its heart, it cares for the most part. And yes, I know there's room for bands that are pretty darn dark. Like, there's some messed up stuff out there. But hey, the darkness just covers our inner light. It doesn't destroy it. There's still hope. There has to be. Anyway, metalheads and rockers live the Phoenix myth. They know that real strength comes from lifting others up, turning pain into resilience, and finding a reason to continue. There's still a reason to fight. There's a deep awakening that's impossible to ignore. I mean, fans and artists recognize that metal and rock are a realm where pain is given its due. Scars are worn with purpose, and the struggle to rise is honored deeply as the fall. When Jamie Josta screams, "Facing what consumes you is the only way to be free," he gives you the torch to light your way out of the dark. When you raise your horns at a show, when the crowd erupts like a volcano and your voice joins their harmonious chaos, you feel it. You feel those ancient flames flickering in your eyes, racing through your veins like magma. At that moment, it hits you. Rock and metal are more than just music. They're a lifeline, and you're part of their story.